Okay, so this is the next video related to the FastAPI, and okay, before proceeding, let's see what we have covered till now. A quick revision of all the topics which we have covered till now. Let's activate my environment. Let me open the code which we are building from last 5 days. Okay, so in the first video we will just created a very basic API, FastAPI. We just imported this line, that is the FastAPI class. We just created the FastAPI instance. We hard coded the metadata. We hard coded the title, like title is equal to my title, version is equal to 0.0.1, and we created a one route. In the second video we could see how to pass this title, version, description from some configuration file. So we created one config file, and in the config file we put all this thing in a form of a class, and we have created a object of the particular class. And if this object has to access the attributes of this class, so how it can access? It can access using the dot operator, setting dot title, setting dot version. So we are importing the setting object from the config class, and we are dynamically picking it from the configuration file. In the third video we see, it's a third video, yeah, in the second video also we see how to create the tags, how to change the how to create the tags, how to change the schema. In the next video we could see, let me show you again. Yeah, in the next video we could see, because in the configuration file we have to define a lot of parameters. So generally we note we have to define the username, because in actual application we will interact with some database, and that database is have some user ID, password, URL, server, port, right? So we have to define all this configuration in the configuration file. What is the database user, password, server, port, database URL, right? So that we can connect with the particular database using the using our application. So generally it is not recommended to hard code all these details within the configuration file, because we will share the configuration file with the other user, and the other user can read our password easily. So the recommended way is to define these variables. First define this variable into the environment setting, and from the OS module we will fetch this environment variables. But if we define in our environment settings, and if we share this code to someone else, and when they try to run the code will not run, because at their computer these environment settings is not there. So they have to again set the environment variable. So the best approach is to do the environment setting in the .env file. Let me show you. So best approach is to do the environment setting in the .env file, and using the .env module. .env is the module which will read the .env file, and it will load this .env file, and it will treat it as a system environment variables. So we define everything password, username, port, database name, right, everything in the .env file, and we are loading that .env file. And once this file get loaded, now it is as a system environment variables, and we know how to access the system variables. Just using the OS module we can access the system variables. So we define these variables. In the next video we could see, let me show you. In the next video we could see how to connect with the database. So we are using the SQL Alchemy. So first we have to create a engine. So we created the engine, we pass the database URL, and then we create a one session. Session is basically a kind of workspace, and we defined that this workspace is only applicable for this database connection. So we bind the particular engine. Then we have to define some table structure, right? So the table is called as a model, and the table is defined in a form of a classes. So we define our table structure, class, user, and only like two attributes are minimum required. One is the table name and one is the one column id column which has the primary key column. So we define a very basic table structure, and how this table like like I need to interact with the particular database. So we ported like from the base, we inherit from the base class, and we define this base class no database. We define this base class in the declarative base, but this declarative base is not linked with the database engine. So our table is linked with the base is not linked with any kind of database. So how the base know that this table is like we need to create in particular database? So for that, when we actually like creating the table, so we say that this base class should read the metadata, and when it read the metadata, metadata means like this table structure. So once it read the metadata, it will issue the create all command, and the create all command should be run on the particular engine. So we said that bind is equal to engine, and engine is our database. So when we run our application, a database is already there. We have to create the database, and a table is created, user and id with email. So we created a very basic you can say let me close this, close. So you can say like we created a very basic table, but generally in actual application it's not only a one table. There could be a multiple table, there could be a relationship between the tables, and even the table has like multiple columns. So now we will see what all the like we will explore a little bit more. So we are like still exploring this document, right? So we have explored all these things, like we created the connection, right? So we created the connection, yeah, fine. We see SQLite as well, we created the session as well, we created the base class as well. So now we have to like explore how to create the tables. We know already how to create the tables, but how to set the relationship between the two tables, what all extra columns like we can put, because in this we only just see let me again show you nano models. We only like used only two column, integer type and the string type, but what all the other types are available, how to create the foreign key, how to create the primary key, we will explore all these options today. So basically like what we will do, we will create two tables. So one is the users table and one is the item table, and user table have the user id, email, password, and is active. So is active is a boolean field whether it is true or false, right? So this is a user table, and we will create a item table. Item table has item id, it's not a basically item it's just a sequence, like when there is a row, so there is a sequence like row number 1, row number 2. So item has some title name, item has some description, and which user has created this item. So let's suppose there is a website, and on that website like a user can come and user can create a item, or you can say it is a kind of a post. So user can create a post. So which post or which item is created by which user. So we will create a one more field, you can say the owner id. So this owner id could be the foreign key for the user table. So user id is the primary key, and this will be the foreign key. So let's suppose the item id 1 created by the user owner 1, item id 2 created by the user id 5, item id 3 created by the user id again 1. So 1 and 3 item created by the user for the same user. So item id 4 created by the user 2, item id 5 created by user 4, and there is a no item created by the like user id 3. So there we have user 3 as well, but none of the item is created by the user 3. So we have to create one more column, owner id, and we will set this as a foreign key. So once we set, then we have to set the relationship between these two tables, right? So we will like see that as well. So let's start. So let's open our like models files. Now what we have to do, we have to add a few more columns, like so first, like let me delete these tables. Let me delete this because it has only ID and email. Right now I am deleting this table, but there are a few, like in the coming video we will see, like rather than deleting the table, how we can, like if we change our schema. So let's suppose if we change our schema, we add one more column or we delete one column, rather than dropping the whole column, how it automatically get reflected. So we will see that in the later video, but we are just learning, in the learning phase. So we will do everything from the scratch. So let's delete this user table because it has only 2 column and we have to create 4 columns, right? So let's delete this. So now we don't have any tables under the testing database, right? So we have come here. So we have to create ID, email, password and is active. ID is there, email is there, we will create the password column, and password is of type string, and password can't be null, so nullable is false, and email also can't be null, so make it nullable is equal to false. Okay, and other field is active. So is active is another column, but it is of type boolean. So we have to import the boolean as well. So because we have imported column, integer, string, and then we have to import the boolean. So we imported the boolean. So it's type boolean, and the default value should be true. So we are using the default keyword as well. So default value should be true. Is active, ACTIVE. Okay, now we have to create the another table with the name items. It will be inherited from the base class. And what could be the table name? Table name could be items, right? And what all the columns are required? ID, title, description. So ID column, ID could be of type integer and it could be primary key. Primary key is equal to true, and it should be index. Index is just for the like faster search, and other thing is title. So title is equal to column, and it is of type string, and you can say null label is equal to false, and we can make it a unique. Title could be unique for the particular item. So unique is equal to true. Okay, so yeah, that's it. And other field is description. So again column, it's of type string, so it can be null, so leave it as is. Now, so this is just the items. So corresponding to that item, like we will tell, okay, this item created by which user. So we will create one more column, owner ID. It is a column, and it is of a type of integer. Alright, it is of type of integer, but it is a foreign key. So we will type the foreign key. So we have to import the foreign key as well. Foreign key, we have imported the foreign key. So it is a foreign key. So it is a foreign key of which table? It is a foreign key of users table. Users dot id. So it is a foreign key of user dot id. Right. So we have defined, like we have defined the user tables, we have defined the items table, but we have not create a relationship between them. Using the foreign ID key, it doesn't mean like we have created the relationship. By mean is like if anything get updated in the user table and the same key is there here, so that field is also get automatically get updated. So let's suppose with the owner ID, so we have the email as well, and the user like update their email, so automatically within the items table emails get updated. So how it will it will create, we have to create a relationship. So first we have to import the relationship keyword from SQL. alchemy.orm import relationship. Okay, so we have to create a relationship. So this table has relationship with which class? So it is a with the class user, right? So it has a relationship with class user. Okay, now user class has a relationship with which class? Items class. Okay, so let's give it a some name. So what name they have given? It give items and it give owner. So let give it as items and let it give the owner. OWONER. Okay, but we have just put just a keyword relationship, but there could be multiple tables. So how this table know, like I have to create a relationship with this table, or if okay, I have to create a relationship with this table and this table has to create a relationship with this table. Okay, we have defined here, but there are like one more field and the field is back populates. Back populates, and back populates means like it will refer to the items. It will refer to the items and it will refer to this owner, OWNER. So basically like we are creating this line. So this line, so whatever the relationship here and whatever the relationship ID is here, we are connecting both. So we create a relationship and the relationship with the item, and we create a relationship here. Relationship is owner. Now we have to connect item and the owner both. So we are back populates item with the owner, and we have back populates like this owner with the items. Okay, so we have created the two tables and we have set the relationship as well. But sometimes you could see rather than the back populates, like many people use back reference, right? So back reference, so it's up to you whether you can use even like you will not mention back populates, now it will work. Like let's suppose you did not mention back populates, you just mention like relationship is equal to item, relationship is equal to user, relationship user, right? And you did not mention back populates, still you will able to do the entries, you will able to do everything. But when you try to update anything, and that field should be updated across all, like if there is a one table and that particular column is like in so many other tables, so generally it is recommended to maintain the data integrity. So if we have updated one table, automatically like other tables should get updated, right? So that's why like we are using the back populates. So many times you could see like back reference, so people use the back reference. So if we are like defining this relationship in both the tables, then we can use the back populates. If we use the back reference, then we don't have to define the relationship in both the tables. We can just define relationship and items, that is this class, and the back reference. So we don't need to define the relationship here. Back reference automatically create a relationship. Okay, but this is our like starting stage, starting learning stage. So we will like to make the code very readable, we will define a relationship in both the table. So we have done, so let's save that. Now let's try to execute our app, and once if we execute our app, what we are expecting, the two tables should be created, right? So let me see if there is any error. Okay, application is up. Application is perfectly up. Now let me cross check the tables. Let me refresh the schema. So under the tables, so there should be two tables, items and user, and under the items there should be columns. What all the columns? ID, title, description, and the owner ID. And under the users tables there should be like a column ID, email, password, and is active. So if you could look at the dependence, dependence on dependency, 1 minute. Yeah, so you could see like what is the primary key, what is the foreign key, right? What is the primary key, what is the foreign key? So you could see like everything, what is the unique constraint. So we have created the tables, we have set the relationship, we have explored a lot of fields, a lot of extra fields. Let me terminate this app. So we have explored a lot of extra fields. Earlier, like in the earlier video, we explored just column, integer, and string. Now we have explored boolean as well, we have explored foreign key as well, we have explored relationship as well. We create a lot of we created two tables, right? So yeah, so we have covered this part as well. So yeah, that's the end of the video. Okay, yeah, thank you. So let me stop the video.